So how do people actually start a podcast? Would you
Welcome people back, I suppose.
welcome back? Well, we haven't done one yet, so we'll start with welcome. Welcome to our
First
ever sort of podcasty
chat. Get to know us.
Yes. Now we do lots of product videos, as you might be aware, or if you're new here, welcome. Now, we don't really have a journey that people follow on, and we thought, well, we've got all this information in our heads, we've got all this knowledge from our history, which we'll go into a little bit of where we come from and why we do what we do. But we thought we could impart some of it onto our viewers. Yeah. Whether they want to listen to it or not, that's entirely up to you.
Completely different to what we do on the channel and the reviews.
It is. And we thought, well, let's give it a go. So we're looking for your feedback from this. Now, we're in a very temporary studio setup here, and we're just in a corner of a shed. We've got one of our Machinery Nation live banners from Groundsfest.
We didn't steal from Groundsfest.
We didn't steal that from Groundsfest, not one bit. No, definitely not. Now, yeah, we're looking for your feedback to find out whether this is something we should do on a regular basis, whether it's useful to you, and rather than us just being sort of manufacturer-led into what we're doing, which obviously we promote products for manufacturers as a channel, but we thought we've got all this information, let's send some of it out there to
our viewers
and make them as wise as us.
Yeah. Probably or not so wise.
Or not so wise. Or you can let us know and let us know that the stuff that we don't know. So that'd be great. Now, let's start with Josh. Josh, take me back to your childhood, mate.
God, it sounds like that steel Christmas opening box again, doesn't it?
Now, how did you get into the industry?
How did I get into the industry? Well...
Why do you like small machinery so much?
Okay, so that started at really young. So most weekends we were going to vintage rallies with grandfather and gran, whether or not it was just a tactic for mother and father to ditch me for the weekend and get me off somewhere. But anyway, that's where my love of small engines
comes from. I'm trying to get off somewhere.
Well, could well be. Could well be. So, so we went to vintage rallies all over sort of Devon and Somerset. I used to take a little small stationary engine. I had a Villiers, which was a rope start. So you sort of wind it around the flywheel, pull it, hope it starts. If it didn't, a little bit of e-start, a little bit of petrol down the spark plug, get it going. And then there was little different rigs I had as well. So I had a little dynamo setup, so it was belt driven to a dynamo, running from lights. And then I also had a little water wheel as well, which I don't think you probably know anything about.
I didn't know this. I'm learning as well as you are.
So I had a little water pump with a water wheel, and it pumped water up to the top, and it went down sort of the little channel into the water wheel, and I had some little ducks swimming around in the bottom. And then grandfather used to have Listers and Bamfords engines. Now mine was air-cooled engine because it was a small one. His was water-cooled, so it had a big tub of water on top, which throughout the day you had to keep it basically, topped up so it didn't overheat. And that was started by a crank handle. So that's where my love of small engines come from. When I was at college, you're always pushed to go to university or go to higher end education. It was never for me. I was always hands-on, wanted to be practical, loved my design technology, all that sort of stuff. So
that's why his nickname's Handsy.
There's other reasons for that. So college, I sort of had a year off, done a bit of grass cutting, done a bit of catering, and then there was an advert in the local newspaper, for an apprenticeship at a garden machinery dealership, only about 5 miles away from me. So I applied for that. That was a Honda apprenticeship. So I'd done 2 years initially apprenticeship with Honda, and then they offered a third year for a higher level.
And that was with Tom Williams Garden Machinery?
Tom Williams Garden Machinery in Minehead. So that's where I learnt my engineering background when it comes to garden machinery and stuff like that. And then, the course involved going to Honda Institute just outside London or outside Reading. And then there was also block release at Brooksby Melton College at Melton Mowbray. So that's where I learnt the ag side of things. ATV a little bit, I suppose. We started playing Skittles together.
We did.
James was in need of a highly trained technician.
I couldn't find one, so I had to catch up conversation with Josh.
And then that's where we come from there, isn't it?
Well, it is, yeah.
And what about you, James? How did you get into garden machinery? And
completely by accident.
Right.
Completely by accident. Now, I was brought up on a family farm, sheep and beef, growing up. The old man had about 1,500 lambing ewes and 50 suckler-headed cows. Now, my relationship with my old man growing up, working together, has never been great. Josh is fully aware of that. So I was never really that involved with the farm as much as some other people are. Now, we had big tractors. Well, I say big tractors, it was big for the area, 100 horsepower sort of size tractors, but we never had any small stuff. Never had any small stuff. Mum had an old electric hated lawnmower, and that was about as good as it got really for small stuff, me growing up. So I always had to tinker with stuff and make stuff, but I was more interested in woodwork growing up. I always loved playing with wood just because it was scraps of wood about and make stuff out of nothing. And I still got that passion now. And if you watch our other channel, which is Find It, Fix It, Farm It, you'll know how I like to build stuff and make stuff. And we've got this 10-acre property now that we have been working on lots of different projects on. So definitely check out our other channel. There's a bit of a plug for that one while we're there. But yeah, no, I love small tractors and vintage tractors and the stuff that we never had. Now, I went into the garden and landscaping trade. So I was garden and landscaping for 10 years, all across the country, lots of different sort of areas from actual, right from weeding right up to full landscape sort of capability brown stuff. So, that was where my love for machinery came from diggers to lawnmowers to strimmers to rotivators. And one of the guys who worked for me, as Josh knows very well, was called Graham. And Graham worked for me on the landscaping side of things, but he had a massive interest and knowledge of mechanics and small machinery. So that allowed me to think, actually, let's sell this business and start a machinery dealership. And when I had that conversation with many a manufacturer at the time, I was like, right, I want to turn this old cob barn into a machinery dealership. And this was back in 2011.
Not a lot different to what we're already in at the moment.
No, that's right. No, exactly. To be fair, yeah. And we had a conversation with the manufacturers to say, look, I'd like to turn this into a garden machinery dealership. And they're like, oh, what dealership are you from? I said, I'm not. I'm from the landscaping trade, but I've got a Graham. And Graham is mechanical, so I thought, right, I can do the sales side because I'd always dabbled in buying and selling stuff. And yeah, we took on some terrible brands to start with and then sort of grew that up. Graham was doing the maintenance and the servicing in the workshop and I was doing the selling and the promotion and everything. So that's where my sort of interest in the garden machinery trade came from. And then, yeah, within 2 years, we'd grown so much that we needed to take on someone with a little bit more industry knowledge, and that's where old Smith comes in. Yeah, so it was perfect timing, really.
Well,
wasn't
it was, yeah. We were both at that point where, to be honest, I was getting to the point where I wasn't going to go any further with what I was doing.
Yeah, you're getting itchy to do something more.
Well, that's it. Yeah, definitely. And to be honest, I was coming to a business that was actually smaller than what I was already in, but there was potential there to grow it.
And I paid him less.
And I had to drive further.
You did, yeah.
I don't know why I've done it, to be honest.
I don't think of actually how many miles you've driven in the last 10
years.
It's
ridiculous, isn't it?
So that was, 12 years ago? No, 10 years ago. 11 years ago.
Yeah. Dealership won multiple awards. Garden machinery awards.
So got the garden machinery, started with some small brands, grew it and grew it and grew it. 2015 we were awarded Garden Machinery Dealer of the Year nationwide. Roll it on a few more years, we took on ATVs and then we took on trailers and then
power tools for a time.
Power tools, and then in 2021 we were awarded Innovative Dealer of the Year, and that's due down to our videos, wasn't it, at the time? And then we won Overall Dealer of the Year. So we got between ag dealers, construction dealers, ground care dealers, forestry dealers, ATV dealers, we won Overall Dealer of the Year, which was a massive achievement.
Yeah, definitely.
It was,
and to think where we come as well from. You look at the value of the showroom when we stood upstairs in the office nearing the end of the closure of the business, and we actually looked down into the showroom and said, look, we've got X many £100,000 worth of stock here, but actually that one ride-on mower that's there in the corner was pretty much the value of what we had in the shop at the start.
Yeah, well, the first year I couldn't afford to buy ride-on lawnmowers in the shop, so I had five strimmers, 5 chainsaws, 5 lawnmowers, like 1 rotavator and a few other individual machines.
Very little spares.
Very little spares, yeah. We just fed hand to mouth and just bought the spares, ordered them in when we needed them.
And I can remember, and there's still dealerships out there now that don't have, and this was a big turning point for me, and you'll probably laugh, but dealers don't always have rolls of chain on the shelf. So you've got a customer coming in with an unusual sort of size chain, or even just a chain you don't stock, then you're having to order it in. Whereas, you know, a year down the line, we actually had 100-foot reels of Oregon chain on the shelf where, you know, you could make up a chain there and then for a customer. And we got to a point where we were that busy, and there was local dealers around us who were actually pointing customers up to us because they knew that we'd have it on the shelf.
Big dealers as well.
Big dealers, multi-branch dealers.
Yeah. That's, you know, one thing important for us was that, you know, to be fair, Josh, you were probably one of the few who we ever employed from another dealership. I generally employed from outside of the industry so that we didn't have other people's bad habits and we could do what we wanted to. We had a few people from the supermarket trade because they understood stock and processes retail. And systems and all of that, and the retail side of it. Took lots of different people from sort of the mechanics from ag backgrounds and car backgrounds, and
actually when you look at it, when we near the end as well, most of our staff were all from an agricultural form of background. Either family were agricultural. My old man's a farmer. All that side of the family have been, and I think that sort of helps in our industry because you've got that sort of mechanical knowledge in some respects, a little bit more hands-on as well,
and a good work ethic.
Yeah, and also you know about machines and how to use them as well. That's the other big thing. When it comes to selling and repairing machines, there's nothing worse than someone not knowing how to use it. And you see salesmen out there that just know the product, but don't actually know how to use the machine at all. And I think that's another big thing, isn't it?
Definitely. And we had two very different sales techniques, didn't we? Whereas Josh, you know, you pulled a lot of information from your workshop background, whereas I always pulled a lot of experience from my using it background. And, you know, you could hear each other in the showroom when we're talking to customers and bits and pieces, which is always interesting. The thing. But okay, so that's how we got to where we did. And we might go in, if you want more detail about our dealership that we had and then what brands we had and what we sold, how we built it, then let us know, because that'd be interesting to do, wouldn't it? A little bit more in depth on that. Now, what was your favourite product to sell?
Oh, favourite product? It would have to be zero-turn mowers, because I think the zero-turn mower market in the UK exploded about 5 or 6 years ago. Are we on about a particular product, or are we on about just a type?
You tell me.
So probably the best product that we actually supplied would be Cub Cadet zero turns. They were very problem-free. They were powerful. They'd done what they said on the tin, and they were strong, weren't they? They come in for service, and there was very little wrong with them. They go straight back out that door. So that
and amazing. That's one of the brands who we worked with a lot. Through the dealership years, you know, we probably was a Cub Cadet dealer for what, 8 years?
Yeah, and I worked out, I think we've done 8 videos as well.
8 videos, Cub Cadet videos. But since we haven't had the dealership, we haven't done any work with them at all. No. So, you know, we haven't had hardly any contact with them either, have we? So, you know, we'd like to do more with them because we're always a big fan of their products. The Cub Cadet zero turns with the steering wheel, Josh could sell them, you know, for probably 2 or 3 a week, wouldn't it? I think we worked out that when we sold up the dealership last year, that we had sold something in the excess of like 1,250 ride-on lawnmowers, hadn't we, in that time?
Pretty
chainsaws in the thousands, rotary mowers in the thousands, and it was just...
And we were a dealership that it was a nice spread, a nice mix. You know, it wasn't just we were all chainsaws or all just brush cutters or whatever. You know, it was a nice mix of everything. And because there was different arms to the business, you know, if your garden machinery side was a little bit quieter, then your ATV side might be a little bit busier, or your trailers or your power tools. So there was that sort of nice amalgamation of all the different things, wasn't there? Working.
Oh, there was. Yeah,
situ.
It was. Yeah, and if anyone who knows me well will know that I get bored very, very quickly, and
if it stood still, it's been sold. So staff members had to watch out.
And if I've always liked to do lots of different things. Now, if something's going well, I think, right, what else can we do? What else can we add to it? What else can we do? So I've had lots of different businesses and involvement over the years to get to where we are today. And I couldn't have done it without this guy here beside me, because we've been working together now for 11 years, isn't it? And I remember
we've not always seen eye to eye.
No, and that's good. That's healthy,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, we we're both each other's devil's advocate. One comes up with an idea, and we turn around and go, "No, that's crap. We won't go with that." But we're both honest with each other.
Yeah.
We might have a cob on for an hour or two between us, but we've always got on well. We've always worked in that way.
The end point is always
it is, and we both work towards that goal, and I think it's worked extremely well. Video-wise, we started doing, obviously had the dealership, and we started making videos in COVID, as a lot of people did, back in 2020. So we've just finished our fourth year of doing videos. And we're at something like 650, aren't we, now on the main channel? And then we've got like 100 and something on the vlog channel as well as shorts and smaller videos and clips and things on TikTok. We started doing videos in COVID, and simply because we needed to promote our business outside.
Well, it was a weird time, wasn't it? No one knew what to do.
No.
And we used it really as a sales aid, really, didn't we? That was the start of it.
But the problem we had with doing those videos is we had people from Glasgow wanting ride-on lawnmowers, and we had people from Surrey wanting quad bikes. And we were just a local dealership. I always had a strict rule that nothing got sold, or any large items never got sold outside of a 40-mile radius. We wanted to keep our customer base clean and concise, and everyone knew what we were doing. And if there was a problem, we could get there reasonably quickly to sort it out. And that was always so important whenever I started the business, to keep that and have that ethos. Now, we could have sold those ride-ons to Glasgow, we could have sold those quad bikes to Surrey, but we know the ones that you always sell furthest away are the ones that are going to have a problem. Yeah. So we thought, right, the only people benefiting here are the manufacturers from these videos. And we were getting 20, 30 calls a week that we couldn't do anything with. So we were going, look on the dealer locator. Yes, Mrs. Jones, your nearest dealer is Garden Machinery Services at Hamilton, just outside of Glasgow. And we're pointing it towards loads of other dealers, which the other dealers were great. They were loving it.
Yeah, and a lot of the dealers we knew already as well, and they were good dealers, weren't they? So we were pointing them towards, as well as just literally someone on their doorstep, maybe a little bit further afield, that would actually supply the backup that they required as well, really as well. So.
Yeah, exactly. And we had so many of these calls coming through that we couldn't handle them. So we thought, right, the only people benefiting were the manufacturer. So what do we do? And we had three choices, really. Either I have a warehouse full of stock and we sell nationwide. Now, you probably get the idea that I didn't have an interest in doing that, because if you sell boxes, that's all you sell boxes. Now, we both like what's in the box. We don't like just, if you're selling boxes, you could be selling women's lingerie, couldn't you? Well, Josh might like that.
It's probably more money in it.
Probably is. Ask them Theopathetus that. Now, the other option was for us to stop doing videos, because it was wasting a lot of time and resources within the dealership. Or we thought, right, do you know what? Why don't we change the name of the channel, open up our videos to all manufacturers, and then hopefully eventually charge them for us to make them. So we done that, and we changed the name from Hayes Machinery to Machinery Nation, of what it is called today. And we had 3, if not 4 brands within the first month after announcing that we were doing that, come say, James, we'd love to do videos on it. Josh, can you do these videos? And since then it just went like this, didn't it? Now, this last 12 months, it probably plateaued out a little bit, hasn't it, on our growth, but we're still growing, we're still getting stronger, we're still getting more views than we ever have before. But because we've had so many changes of this last 12 months, we've been finding our feet as well, haven't we, into what we're doing.
Yeah, it's a big change.
Big change. So that is how we've come to where we are and why we do videos. But now the good news is that all the manufacturers pretty much do pay us to make the videos, bar our comparison videos. Now, we're still very strict on that, and I have been from the start, haven't I? That manufacturers don't pay us to make comparison videos, because we don't want to be bought to say what we want to say in those comparison videos. So if we, reviewing videos, reviewing comparison, different machines, then we want to have our own free reign on that. So that's how our video structure works. And it seems to be working well and going in the right direction, doesn't it?
So, definitely. And it's worth mentioning as well that obviously when we started the YouTube channel, obviously you were pretty much very heavily involved with it early on, weren't you? Up to when we closed the dealership, because obviously I was still in the showroom a lot of the time. So I was dabbling in and out of it, probably once a month, probably something like that. One video in every 4 or 5. We try and get out now two main videos a week. That includes obviously all our short form content as well, so on TikTok and Instagram and all that sort of stuff. And then obviously you've got your vlogging channel as well. So, you know, in theory, we've got 4 fairly long videos going out each week, haven't we?
Yeah. And originally when we first started, you know, I was still very heavily involved with the dealership and other interests as well. So we actually had a full-time videographer, didn't we? So we had Will, and Will done all the filming, all the editing, helped us build the channel to what it got to, about 40,000, I think it wasn't it, until when he, 40,000 subscribers when he moved on. And
obviously we had an active website at that point as well. Yeah. So there was a lot of work to be done on that behind the scenes as well.
Yeah. So. And we then when Will left, we had someone else come on board and help us grow even a little bit more. And then when we, you know, when she moved on, we thought, well, why not? You know, let's try and do it ourselves. So I've been doing all the horizontal editing ever since, and Josh has been doing all the vertical editing ever since. So, but it's working, isn't it?
It
is working. Because we have got this view now of our videos don't need to be cinematic. They don't need to be massively heavily edited. They're not raw, but they're sort of in that in-between market, aren't they? And I think for what we're doing, people want the information, they want to see the product, and they want to see it work properly. It doesn't have to be the artiest shots in the world. And it'd be great to get your views on what you think of that style rather than it being too heavily edited. So yeah, let us know.
And the other thing is we've got some big plans for next year.
We've got some very big plans for next year.
Big plans for next year, which obviously we'll divulge throughout the year, won't we? I suppose.
Yeah.
But we've got more manufacturers coming on board, which is a
big
great
manufacturers as well.
Yeah, so there'll be even more variety on the channel. So hopefully there's enough variety anyway. But this is just going to put another string to the bow, basically. This is going to give us a little bit more of an edge.
Yeah, and that is big machinery as well as big brands, big well-known machinery. So yeah, there's that. And then Machinery Nation Live, which we've got the sign behind us, which is the only sheet we had, wasn't it? So that's what we've used for this. Now, Machinery Nation Live, we've done at Groundsfest in 2024 as a bit of a trial for them and us, and it worked really well, didn't it?
And 2023, we've done a video.
Yes, we've done a video at Groundsfest, and then this year we've done a live event where we've done comparisons of machinery. We had trials between ourselves, we'll call it. We won't call it racing, we didn't race. And then we just had a
good interaction with the crowd.
Amazing interaction.
Lovely, which was really good because, you know, we staggered our events throughout the day, so we've done them at 10, 12 and 2. Obviously different types of events throughout the day as well. But it was nice that people potentially were seeing us at 10 o'clock, were coming back to see our other events as well. Which meant we were hopefully doing the right thing. And they wanted to watch us.
And
so
we've done Groundsfest this year, but we've been signed back up for Groundsfest for 2025. That'll be bigger and better again. And we've also taken on the Game Fair as well. So we'll be doing a very similar thing at the Game Fair, although it'll be a little bit different from Groundsfest, just to keep it fair for Groundsfest. But
we're going into clay pigeon traps.
Hopefully Josh doesn't get his yogurt rifle
out. So no, exciting times for 2025.
Definitely. So these podcasts, then Josh, we are planning on doing one a month. I think is sensible if you guys want us to. Now,
we're open to suggestions as well. What you want us to chat about.
100%. Now we're going to get on to ride-on lawnmowers in a minute, hence the thumbnail.
Well, we were thinking a big topic would be chainsaws.
Chainsaws. We'll do one on chainsaws. If not 2, 3, 4 on chainsaws. We love chainsaws. Our channel, we've got a huge following on our channel for chainsaws. And obviously, talking about new products, we have just launched the new Stihl MS 400.1, which we are very much in love with.
Yeah, it is a beauty, isn't it?
Yet to try it up against the original. But that is coming. Definitely a video coming on that. Now, Josh, ride-on lawnmowers.
Ride-on
lawnmowers. As this video suggests, I'd like to know what your worst, because we can do this now, because we're not being paid. This video isn't even sponsored by anybody, so we can say what we want. Go on, I'm intrigued.
So my worst.
What is your least favourite ride-on lawnmower, and why?
Do you know what? I am actually going to go with the Cub Cadet ride-on.
After what you said just now about Cub Cadet 0 turns,
they all regret making one ride-on mower, don't they? There's no manufacturer out there who won't turn around.
Some manufacturers, I reckon, would regret 4 or 5 different ride-ons they've done.
But from I don't think we ever saw one in the dealership that we had. But when I worked at Tom Williams, there was a few ride-ons we sold, and it was a Cub Cadet FMZ.
Oh, the front deck.
Yeah.
We did have one.
Did we have one come in? Did we?
Yeah, because I think he's the
it's
one.
like an offset deck at the front.
Yeah, but it's like a real. It's like the machine was huge, the deck was tiny.
Yeah.
And then hopefully we put a picture overlaying this of what it is. But the back wheels, I think the one we had come in didn't have like a steering rod problem.
Yeah, so
like the bent or something.
And the wheels in the back, they were sort of set in as well. So you got larger wheels on the front, set in back wheels. It was rear wheel steer.
Yeah.
With a big deck on the front.
Yeah.
It was very front heavy. Had a lovely engine in the back, Kawasaki engine, but it was the most garish thing going. And from a servicing and point of view, it was awful, absolutely awful. You drive forward and you stop and you go like that. Like that.
Do an endo.
And you could get it, I think you could get it with a 46-inch deck, and I think you could get it with a 50 and maybe even a 54.
Okay, so perhaps we had one with a smaller deck on the front.
And they were side discharge.
Yeah.
Side discharge mulch. But yeah, not like the true zero turns they make today.
Now I want to say that we had it in and we part exchanged it and sold them, or you sold them, a Cub Cadet zero turn with a steering wheel. And they were really reluctant to go for a Cub Cadet again because of that. But yeah, it's that one where small rear wheel steer, and then every time you steered like near a wall or something, and the wheel touched anything, it'd bend the track rod.
It was really weak on that back end. And it was like on about how big it was physically, the machine at the back. It was like have a massive, great bulbous bum on the back of it, wasn't it? And you were sat in the front. It was a bit like being on a forager, that sort of thing, wasn't it? You like sat right at the front on it. Obviously, lovely visibility at the front.
Yeah.
And headlight in the steering column, but yeah.
So it reminds me of another mower with front deck, which was horrible, and I'd put it into a list of the worst ride-ons ever made, quite happily, was the front deck Countax mower that they produced. It was built like a brick outhouse.
No, there was someone near the dealership that actually had one of those.
Yes, like right next door.
Right next door.
And we
He's our favourite customer.
We sold them a robotic lawnmower, a Husqvarna robotic lawnmower, because they wanted an easier life, which is fair enough. And we were offered this mower as part exchange. I think we refused to take it back in part exchange.
No, actually, no. Didn't we sell it? We did take it back.
You say we sold it. I think he sold it.
No, I think you sold it because I had to go and repair it after it was sold.
It was a horrible machine.
I want to say it was sold to someone down a small cul-de-sac in with a Liscombe direction.
Definitely your sale then.
Definitely
I
not
never
my
sold
sale.
anything into Witherliscombe.
Yeah, but that is not a nice ride on there. That was four-wheel drive as well.
It was four-wheel drive. You sort of sat down in it. Compared to the Cub Cadet, you sort of sat down in it, and you're sort of in this sort of little cockpit almost. The principle was right, but front deck, it's a Countax, almost like an underslung deck, but just put on the front.
But it didn't look like a normal Countax, though, did it? No, it's completely different style.
I don't think they made them for very long for a very good reason. So there's another one.
And one thing that did cause an issue with that is that electronic height adjustment, the actuator on the front. That was bloody awful. And the deck in general, I mean, Countax decks, you've got to look after them. But this thing, if I remember rightly, had chains hanging down at the front, so it was like an open-ended or fronted deck, and it was open-ended at the back, so it was like a mulching deck come flail, and anything a little bit long, the grass just like was left behind, so it was like topping your grass off in your garden. You got no brilliant finish, did you?
No, that's right. Another strange looking mower is the John Deere, and I don't know what the model was. Josh is great on remembering model names and things. It was a John Deere zero turn, but it was an underslung deck. So it's like a normal John Deere tractor. Bonnet out the front, engine out the front, steering wheel, but the wheels almost went...
SSTC, I think it was the series.
He's great for this sort of stuff. But it looked like a bulbous bonnet. The wheels didn't look right. Everything just looked really awkward on that machine. And I don't think we ever worked on one.
No,
but I just remember seeing one.
We've seen one recently because the sales and stuff.
Oh, there was one in an auction, wasn't there?
There's been one in an auction that's been bouncing around several times. Obviously, people have been buying it, not liking it, or you know.
And yeah, that was a typical John Deere bonnet as well, smashed to pieces.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to replace a John Deere bonnet because it's like 800 quid for a whole bonnet assembly.
Parts are expensive, aren't they?
Very.
They're getting away from that.
Yeah, whereas like an Alco bonnet, I remember sort of comparing one years ago, was like, it was 4 panels, but I think the whole panel assembly added up to about 90 quid compared to the John Deere one, which was like 800 quid. Mad.
It's obviously a green pigment in it, that's what it is.
Yeah, it must be. But a yellow detail. Got another?
I have got another one. It seems like I'm picking on MTD here a bit.
Have you got a gripe against MTD? Is that why you were so nice about them in the beginning?
No, not at all. But I was going to say, actually, I'm going to say one of the best products ever made was that 1050i.
Oh, the all-rounder.
The all-rounder,
Yeah, Cub Cadet all-rounder.
That was a great machine.
That was a nice
and that was similar looking to the John Deere, but it actually worked.
And that was a 50-inch deck with a 24 horsepower engine, I think.
Kawasaki.
Yeah.
Very low to the ground.
Yeah.
Big wide wheel width.
Oodles of power.
Big wide wheelbase.
Yeah.
Stuck to anything. It would do what a four-wheel drive would do. And I think that's where they've taken their principle, their new zero turns has come from that sort of style. So that's a good ride-on. Anyway, going back to the MTD, that is an awful machine. And that is, it's an MTD, but it's not Cub Cadet, it's a Yardman. So it's green and yellow. And it's called the Beetle, or you might know it as the Bug. Now this thing I think originally come with potentially Tecumseh engines in the back on the early ones. And then obviously they moved over to Briggs. So it's sat. You think of it as being sat on top of a little ladybird with a steering wheel in front of you.
The steering wheel, like column came up. You were like that, weren't you?
Yeah.
Sort of sat
throttle
right
all on there, brake, auto drive, which used to catch a lot of people out because I think that was the only company for a while that had that auto drive system. So instead of a hydrostatic or a manual gearbox where you take your foot off or you push your foot down, this thing, you select your gear and then the further you push it down, you drive forward, but it's all on belts. It's not hydrostatic as in oil pump, so your belts are going in and out pulleys.
Okay.
So there's a lot,
like a variator pulley.
Yeah, so there's a lot of belts on it, but the worst thing that let it down for a small compact ride-on mower was the grass box, because looking at it, you think, oh, it must be side discharge. No, the grass box was underneath the seat. And the grass box, you have to lift the seat, this metal bonnet and everything, comes open, and then underneath you've got like a little grasshopper, like a basket.
So a bit like what like a fly mower was. You had a little basket.
Yeah, and then you used to unclip the bottom of the basket when you get it out, and obviously grass comes out. But you had a little ping pong ball just between your legs, and that used to blow up when the grass box was filling, and when it was full, you used to drop back down again. They never worked that well.
Did you used to drive along like this and then just play with your ball between your legs while you were driving along?
Yeah, I mean they were a popular mower, but I just didn't like them in the slightest. They were underpowered, and any bit of wet grass, they never collected that well, to be honest. But
now, I've got one. Well, you remember that talking about little ride-ons, I got another little ride-on I'll mention in a minute, which is probably my most hated thing in the world. But now, this isn't a horrible mower. It was actually quite a nice little mower, apart from the Tecumseh engine. Now, remember that little Alco 600 that I bought for like 30 quid?
Yeah.
It wasn't that long after you started, was it? And you and Graham were outside. I was pleased at punch that I bought this little mower for 30 quid. And I'd pulled it out the van. So excited. So Graham comes out after breakfast, and I said, "Tell you what, I'll start it up, and I'll show you how good this thing is." And I think it's pull start, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pull start. Yeah. It's pull start. I jumped on the seat. Now I was sort of in front of a wall, and on that machine, I don't think you had a brake.
Well, no, that was like that auto drive system, like the.
So you had like a go pedal and a brake. Now I couldn't, for the life of me, get rubbing my head and patting my belly, which way around it is. I couldn't get it right. I ended up sort of trying to climb this wall. I was there doing this and rocking and going and wheeling and everything.
I wish I'd had a camera at times.
It was.
It's on the seat.
It was exactly that. It was painful. But that leads me on to now my most hated mower. Now, have you got another one before?
That's strong.
Yeah, it is. It's
most
strong.
hated mower.
Yeah. Now, only on appearance. I've never actually used one. But anyway, have you got another one before I say this?
No, you crack on.
You've got no others?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. My most hated looking mower in the world. And I gave it a nickname. You'll remember now. Back in the day. We had it in the workshop to do work on it. And I remember walking into the workshop and someone else had picked it up and brought it into the workshop and I was like, what is that? And I nicknamed it the Mountfield toilet. You remember the one? It was a Mountfield toilet. And the reason why I call it a Mountfield toilet is because the shape of the seat is like a toilet seat. It is just the shape, and it's got a little backrest on it about this high.
And it's less comfortable than a toilet seat.
But it was designed so when you're going up and down hills, you could slide your bum forward and back to distribute your weight.
It was only about that wide, I reckon.
It was tiny little thing, but just
little time deck on the front of it, if I remember right.
I remember Stiga brought out the same one, didn't they? But it was called a Stiga Primo. Primo, wasn't it? Yeah. And I can't remember what the Mountfield was. It Mountfield Primo as well, or
no? I think it's a one something H or something, or M 1.5. I don't know, something like that. But M I think stood for manual and H was hydrostatic.
Yeah. The Mountfield makes some good motors, but that was blooming awful.
Yeah.
It was a horrible looking thing. Yeah. Now, single blade ride-on mowers, no matter what brand it is, I don't think there's one that you'd ever say is good.
No.
If you're going for a single blade ride-on lawnmower, just buy a rotary. You'll walk behind one. Don't bother with a set-on single blade ride-on. We sold oodles again. Going back to Cub Cadet, we sold oodles of those single-bladed 30-inch CC 114 TAs.
Oh, you're getting good. Look at it.
There was a TA. There was another one, wasn't there? An HA. So what's your biggest ick about a ride-on lawnmower?
Biggest ick.
Now, so I'd like to do this in all of our videos going forward. Well, not all the videos, all our these podcasty things we're doing, where I asked Josh when we're talking about different products, ride-ons today, chainsaws, whatever it might be, so what is his ick, and then also red flags. But yeah,
I've got two actually, if I can have two. Mm-hmm. One would be wheel alignment. Mm-hmm. So when you're loading it into the back of a van, now it won't be for your customers because they're just going to drive out of their garage and use it on the lawn. But if you cannot load it into the back of a van with one set of ramps and you need two sets of ramps, so you could have like a gang mower or something like that with a single wheel on the back, and then you've got to carry the amount of times we were picking up fairway mowers from golf clubs or something like that, and your back wheel was running on another ramp. I just hate that.
Well, then we've had a few, haven't we, where you go up a ramp, even with four-wheel mowers, and the pull makes the ramp spread because the wheels aren't
set. The wheel alignment on the... that's one thing.
Okay, what's your second?
And then the other thing would be the amount of guards that are fitted to ride on mowers these days. Absolutely bloody ridiculous. If you
belts in general, but the guards even worse.
Yeah, and it got to a point where they're not easy to take off. Yeah, don't mind an odd guard here or there to stop your Joe Blogg spitting around underneath while cutting the grass. Who does that? I don't know.
As Mike says, who works for us in our workshop still, Darwinism.
Natural selection.
Yeah, natural selection. Take the guards and safety labels off and let society sort itself out.
Yeah, when these manufacturers want you to clean out underneath the decks and keep all your underneath your guards clean because they'll say, oh, there's a build up of grass, so your warranty's now defective or whatever. We'll make it easy. Make it easy for that customer to unclip the guard in 1 minute, less than 1 minute. No screws that go rusty,
within
captive nuts. Or plastic lugs that have to slide in, but then you've got to get another guard in place first, not mentioning any names.
No comment.
James knows what I'm on about. But I hate guards.
Yep.
Hate guards on ride-ons. Mm-hmm. And what about you? You must have got several.
I probably have got several, but my biggest ick with the ride-on lawnmowers, and I go back to the single blade machines probably, but that does happen on some twin blades as well, is that when you've got a ride-on mower, which is, say, the wheelbase is, let's go with 32 inches wide, but the deck they fitted onto it is only like 28 inches wide. Ride-on mower decks that are narrower than the actual chassis of the machine. Yeah. Why bother?
Doesn't make sense, does it?
Because you're going to drive over half the grass before you even cut it. And I just that'd be my biggest ick.
Yeah, that's a good valid point. There's not many of them out there, but there is a few, isn't there?
Yeah. Now, right, red flag.
Red flag.
Red flag rather than ick, because if you see a new product, new ride-on, this could come into your guard selection. But what would be your red flags products? So no, don't buy it because of that.
This day and age, I think a red flag with a ride-on mower would be they don't change the look or appearance of the machine, but they've changed something under the bonnet. So maybe they've changed the engine from a premium engine to maybe a more cost-effective engine, but the price is very similar to what it was previously.
To make things cheaper. But
make things cheaper.
the production cheaper, but keep the cost.
Yeah, so the margin's higher potentially for the manufacturer, but actually, is it a better product? No. You think in this day and age, every single product that comes out should be better than its predecessor.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Whether or not that's a red flag, I don't know, but I think so another red flag would be
It's coming out with them all now, look.
Oh, no, I'll let you have a red flag on. You go for a red flag.
My red flag?
Yeah.
Battery power. What?
What? I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it.
I'm joking. No.
Sorry, ego. Sorry, Mowers. Sorry, still.
No, I don't mean that at all. I love the battery powered product. My biggest red flag would, to be fair, I would lead on from your engine point, is that underpowered ride-ons.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
There's so many on the market. Again, for Josh's same point, for cost effectiveness to the manufacturer to make them, to bring a product out for a price point. Think, right, we've got to get a ride-on under $2,500.
Yeah. To rival another brand that's doing better than us.
Yeah,
maybe,
that's right. Exactly.
Like
yeah. And whereas, buy something, I've always said, and same when we were selling as a dealer, is if you're looking at a ride-on mower, buy a ride-on. And you think, right, okay, that's the engine, that's the machine I need, that's the machine that'll do everything I want it to, but go for the next one up. Because you're always going to have those situations where the grass is going to be a bit longer, it's going to be a little bit damper, the conditions aren't perfect, and you could just do with that extra bit of power or size or whatever it might be that is on that next ride on up. If budgets allow to spend that extra, generally, what's it, 200 or 300 quid between one ride on and the next one up?
Yeah.
And it makes such a difference.
And if size isn't an issue, you're better off getting a big engine in a small ride-on.
Yeah.
So something like an Alco, you can get a 20 horsepower or a 16 horsepower in their direct collect tractors, or you used to be able to. Well, you might as well have a 20 horsepower on a 95 centimetre deck than you're having a 16 on a 105. What's 10 centimetre difference? You might have to go up your lawn once or twice more, but actually you put in the machine under less stress.
The power to width ratio is much better.
Yeah, that's it. And to be honest, they're going to be, like I say, very similar in price anyway, aren't they?
Yeah. So did you have another red flag or any X about ride-on mowers? Apart from the 5 we mentioned that we don't like.
I know one for you.
Oh, right, here we go.
That would be cup holder.
Oh, cup holder. No, cup holder. The funny thing is, we made a Kramer video. I'd done a Kramer video on their battery 0 turn, didn't I? And what was that? 2 years ago?
Yeah.
And my biggest thing is, like, it doesn't have a cup holder. Why would you buy it? But to be fair, in all honesty, I don't think I've ever taken a drink with me on the ride-on lawnmower in my life.
You never think about it, do you?
No, you don't.
It's like
you don't.
Going out to cut the grass. I'm not
But
going
then
out to...
if you're contracting, it might be a bit different. But, if you're going from...
But then you're probably looking at a different style machine anyway. Then.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
And
that's one thing we want to do a video on, isn't it? The difference between a domestic machine and a professional machine. So a homeowner versus commercial.
Yeah.
I think it's important so people understand the difference, what they're getting.
Why would you buy that over that, basically? Because there's a lot of commercial guys out there that still buy something that isn't really fit for purpose, and then they complain that it's breaking down.
I do. When people buy domestic machines and use them commercially, that is a big ick of mine.
Yeah. And that's one thing we've done with the dealership is we made sure we never, should I say, very rarely, or how we knew them, we made sure we sold the right product to the right person.
Yeah.
Whereas there's a lot of dealerships out there that just like the sale. So you buy that, but they see them in a week's time because.
And I've got a great story on that because I was on a Saturday morning once in the shop, and a customer came in wanting to buy a ride-on mower. Now, they'd already done a bit of research. They'd found that they wanted a small ride-on about sort of 30 inches wide, and that's what they thought they wanted. So the first thing when someone comes in and says, I'm interested in ride-on lawnmowers, the first thing we'd ask is what garden have they got? How often do they cut the grass? How steep is it? What type of grass is it?
Mulch, collect, side discharge.
Finding out all the information before you even start talking about mowers. We go into a lot of places and you are looking for ride-on lawnmowers. Cool, we've got a red one, we've got a green one, we've got a yellow one. Which one do you want? And now, don't get me wrong, dealers are great, so there's only a few about who do that. But the case when we went, those people came in and they said, look, done our research, we'd like this ride-on lawnmower. So I went and had a look at it, talked about that, and they told me their garden. I was like, no, that mower is not suitable for what you want to do. That mower is suitable up to probably 3/4 of an acre at max. And they had like 1.5 acres of lawn to cut everything. It's fine, it'll just take longer. I said, no, it's not the right mower. And they went away. And on the Monday, they rang in and go, we found another dealer who will sell it to us, but we really want to buy it from you. That's all right. Okay, but I'm not willing to sell that mower. You're going to have to spend the extra 300 or 400 quid to go to the next one up, which would be suitable. And they said, no, we can't. We just can't justify it. We're going to go with the other dealer. And I said, that's absolutely fine, not a problem at all. And it was about 3-4 months later, wasn't it? And they rang up and to say, James, you were right. That mower is definitely not right for us. My husband has been pulling his hair out. Every weekend he's gone to try and cut the lawn because it won't handle our grass, it won't handle the slope, it won't handle a large area, and it's just not getting done. And we've decided to only cut half of it and then get someone in to trim the rest of it every couple of months. And that was a prime example of someone selling the wrong machine to the wrong customer.
Yeah. What was the outcome of that? Did they?
Well, they said that once they could, I can now not remember if they came back in to buy one from us or not, but they said when we can justify it, we'll come in and buy a bigger mower from you guys.
Because the other half of the car.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. They had 2 small ones instead. His and hers. But there we go. I think that's probably rounds up our first podcast video of information deliverance of our...
Yes.
Whether that's useful or not.
Chit chat.
General chit chat. Yeah. So hopefully got a little bit more history about us, a little bit more information about ride-ons on the market, and the ones perhaps not to have a look at if you see them second hand. And let us know if you've got one of them or you've got another one that you think is a terrible machine. We'd love to hear your thoughts, feedback on everything we've done in this video.
Do you know what? I've got a. We think we need to name our podcast.
Yes, we do.
So loose women. We could be loose men.
Loose men. But no, let us know some suggestions. Now, my suggestion earlier on was bottom cog.
Yes.
Bottom cog. That was my suggestion for this podcast.
Yeah. What about the machinery men?
The machinery men. Mr. Men.
Mr. Men.
We could be Mr. Happy and Mr. Wide. Which one's which? We'll let you decide.
Better than Mr. Tickley.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. Let's turn the camera off.
But yeah, so hopefully we're going to do another one next month.
Yeah, hopefully.
So that'll be January.
January, yeah.
To get Christmas out of the way, and then we'll be back in our studio again.
You never know, it might be better one day. We'll stick with this for a minute.
Might have a table in the middle to put our drinks.
That's a good idea, actually. Yeah, probably find something at a charity shop or something, couldn't we?
And then we'll have some more industry news, hopefully, by that point.
Industry news.
New bits and pieces coming out.
We do know a lot of information.
We do know something, but we can't say anything.
Yeah, we are privy to new products coming out the following year, but we've got to be zipped and embargoed, as they call it.
But it's exciting. It is exciting.
Very exciting. So yeah, make sure you stay tuned for that. Anyway, we'll don't subscribe, don't follow us, don't like us, and
don't put any comments below.
No. So yeah, cheerio.
Cheers.